breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson. Now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson. He does such an amazing job with the show/podcast, Rob's Bets Bets. We're going to be chatting it up with him about what we're all seeing in the American League, a very, very convoluted, crazy American League right now where nobody wants to seem to win games at this point, and if there's any teams at all that are providing a little bit of value there, and then we're going to dive into the slate that we've got on this Wednesday. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a great day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Royals and Mets played one of the most harebrained and crazy games that you're ever going to see. And for the Royals to get the job done by a count of 16-12, even after in the first inning they had a 3-throw error play. There were 3 errors on the same play by Nick Lofton, Jack Caglione, and Seth Lugo. Lugo gives up 9 runs, 6 of which were earned, including a pair of bombs. Juan Soto, his 20th home run of the season. A.J. Ewan, his 6th. From there, Daniel Lynch, 1 1/3 inning squirrels. John Schreiber, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Beck Way, 2/3 of an inning squirrels. Matt Strom gives up a run in an inning. Lucas Erceg, he was able to provide a scoreless inning. And Encino Perez, scoreless first inning. And then Kodai Senga, 4 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings, and he was cranked deep in this game as it was Tyler Tolbert getting his 2nd home run of the campaign and 2nd of the series. A little bit later on, Nick Lofton, he was able to get his 4th home run of the campaign. That coming off of the young gun and Mr. Matt Sillinger. He made his MLB debut and he gave up 7 runs in 2 innings. Austin Warren was even worse. He gave up 5 runs and didn't get a single out. Oscar Brisbane, 2 shutout innings. AJ Minter, a scoreless inning, but boy, just absolutely wild and crazy what we saw there with the Royals going 9-23 with men in scoring position. The Detroit Tigers, they find a way to persevere. This by kind of 6-2. JT Ginn and Juice, 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings with Cole Keith, his 7th home run of the campaign, and then Jacob Lopez, 4 runs allowed in 3 innings. Elvis Alvarado, a scoreless inning, and then Tyreek Skubal, he gives up 1 run over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Henry Bolte, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Kyle Finnegan was able to give you a scoreless inning. Drew Anderson, unearned run, give it up in his inning, and then Jacob Waguespack was able to give you 2 shutout innings of his own. For the Walker Texas Rangers, they find a way to be able to get an 8-3 win over the LA Angels as Jacob deGrom gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Cool win, a shutout inning. You did have Chris Martin give up a run in an inning, but Peyton Gray, Tyler Alexander, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning, and then Jose Soriano, he gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, and shock, surprise, surprise, the LA Angels did LA Angels bullpen things. Tyler Cicado gives up a solo run in his inning, worked at Justin Foscue, his 6th home run of the campaign, and then don't call his name, Alejandro Zuna, 1st home run of the season. That comes off of Sam Bachman, who gives up 5 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Brent Suter, he was able to get an out of the bullpen scoreless himself. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they had a double dip against the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Brewers win both of them. Game number 2 was much more convincing, 10-2 final in this one. Robert Castor, 2 runs allowed in 7 2/3 innings, including a home run to Nelson Velasquez, 4th home run in the campaign. Craig Yoho, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Hunter Dobbins, 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, and then from there, Jared Schuster get 4 outs, and he gave up 7 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run to Joey Ortiz, 3rd home run in the campaign. Gordon Gaseffo, he was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Brian Torres, the backup left fielder, he came in for 2 shutout innings. They didn't have any position players playing in game number 1, 4-3. The Brewers, they were able to get the job done here as the Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, he gets 11 punch-outs, 3 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings, including a pair of bombs. So Von Herrera, 11th home run in the campaign. Jordan Walker, his 21st, and then Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe. They both give you a scoreless inning. Matt Savanson, he was able to lend a shutout inning, and then you had from there Ryan Stanek give up a run without getting a single out of the bullpen. Bruce Zimmerman, That's a name I haven't heard of in a long time. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Jojo Romero, a scoreless inning, and then Justin Brule, 2 shutout innings of his own. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they get the job done 12-4 against the Atlanta Braves. For the Pirates, Paul Skeens gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, as you had on the flip side, Hurston Waldrop give up 7 in 3 1/3, including 2 bombs. You had 3 home runs in this game from Ryan O'Hearn. He had home runs number 14, 15, and 16 of the campaign, as the other one, that was coming off of Connor Thomas, who he goes 3 2/3 innings. He gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned, and Jorge Mateo, that would be a position player. He was able to come in for a shutout inning. Meanwhile, for the Pirates bullpen, Carmen Molzinski, 2 shutout innings, and Hunter Strand, he does give up 2 runs in an inning, but way too little, way too late there. For the Chicago Cubs, 5-2 winners over the Baltimore Orioles, as the Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. You had from there Anthony Nunez be able to give you 2 shutout innings, and you had Nick Requay also be able to lend that shutout inning. Matthew Boyd, very solid here, 6 shutout innings out of him. From there, Ryan Rolson, he gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Jacob Webb, in out of the bullpen scoreless. Tyler Ferguson, a scoreless inning. Trent Thornton, he was able to give you a shutout inning as well. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, they get a 6-4 win over the New York Yankees. Will Warren gives up 6 runs over the course of 4 innings, including not 1, not 2, but 3 bombs, as Hunter Fiducia, 2nd home run in the campaign. Victor Mesa Jr., 4th home run of the season. Yandy Diaz, his 13th. Tim Hill, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Paul Blackburn, he was able to give you a 4 scoreless, and Brett Hendrick, a shutout inning. Meanwhile, Ian Seymour punches out 12, but he does give up 3 runs along the way, including a home run to Ben Rice, 26th home run of the campaign. Kevin Kelly, he gives you a run allowed in an inning. Cam Boozer, pair of outside the bullpen scores. Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, they're both able to end a shutout inning of their own. For the Seattle Mariners, they fall to the Miami Marlins in 10 innings. This by kind of 6-5, as for Max Meyer, pretty solid start here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, and he does get cranked deep here by Colton Young, his 10th home run of the campaign. From there, Michael Peterson, great name, a scoreless inning. John King, he was the king of giving up a run over the course of an inning. Calvin Fauché, 2 runs allowed over the course of an inning. Pete Fairbanks, Kay Gibson, they give you scoreless 9th and 10th innings, and then Brian Wu, more like Brian Boo, 4 runs, 3 of which weren't given up in 5 innings, as he was taken deep in this game for home run number 12 of the campaign by Owen Casey, and then Roberto Hernandez off of Gabe Speier, 12th home run of the season. Jose Ferrer, Edward Bizardo, they both give you a scoreless inning. Speier gives up a solo run in his inning of work. Andres Munoz, a shutout inning, and Michael Rucker, he gives up a unearned run in the 10th inning as a walk-off winner. That goes to Jacob Marcy, who's been hitting like a 200 thus far this season. The Red Sox, 8-1 winners over the Chicago White Sox, as Peyton Tolley, well, he made the White Sox pay the Tolley. He goes 6 shutout innings. From there, Danny Kalum, he gives up 1 run while getting 1 out of the bullpen. Justin Slayton, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Garrett Woodlock, Ryan Watson, they both land a scoreless inning. And then Noah Schultz, he gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. Pair of bombs as Andrew Marisario, 4th home run of the campaign. Cedon Rafaela, he gets his 8th. Meanwhile, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jordan Nix, they both land a scoreless inning. Brandon Iser, 4 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. And then Trevor Richards, he was able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless as well. For the Cleveland Guardians, they fall to the Minnesota Twins, this by kind of 3-1. Taj Jonquel and Milton Bradley was not playing games. 10 punch-outs, 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings, with Rhys Hoskins getting his 8th home run of the campaign. Andrew Morris, a shutout inning out of the bullpen. And then Taylor Rogers, Yandres Gomez, they both give a scoreless inning. For Joey Cantillo, he gives up 200 runs over the course of 5 innings. Travis Bazzana had a error out there in the field, and that was brutal for them. And then you had Eric Zabrowski give up a run in an inning. Matt Fessa, he had a fiesta giving a scoreless inning. And Franco Ailman, he was able to give you a shutout inning as well, but once again, nothing doing for the Cleveland Guardians here. A whole heck of a lot doing, though, for the Philadelphia Phillies. 4-1, they take down the Cincinnati Reds. Andrew Abbott, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. He's out giving up 300 runs or fewer in each of his last 13 games. Kyle Schwarber, a Schwarbomb with his 31st home run of the campaign. Pierce Johnson, a shutout inning out of the bullpen. Caleb Ferguson, he gives up 1 run in 1/3 of an inning. You had Sam Moll come in for a scoreless inning, and you were able to get a pair of outs out of Julian Garcia out of the bullpen scoreless. Meanwhile, Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler, while he was Whelan, he was Whelan. He gives up 1 run over the course of 7 innings, 14 strikeouts. Does give up a home run to Eugenio Suarez, 9th home run of the campaign. Orion Kirkring, Jonathan Bolin, they combine for a shutout inning, and Yohan Duran, he was able to give you a shutout inning of his own. For the LA Dodgers, they blew it late against the Colorado Rockies, 4-3. Rockies are able to get the job done here as Michael Lorenzen gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned over the course of 6 innings. Shohei Ohtani took him to the 20th home run of the campaign. Juan Mejia from there, 2 shutout innings. Jordan Romano, yes, that Jordan Romano, scoreless inning to be able to get the save, got into a hairy situation, but the Dodgers went 1 of 12 with men in scoring position in this game, and Justin Robelski was great. Gives up 1 run in 7 innings, 9 punch-outs. Will Klein, Jack Dreher from there, they combine for an inning, and Klein gives up 3 unearned runs as there was a pair of errors out there in the field that hurt their cause. Evan Phillips from there, a scoreless inning, but the errors, they ended up being a little bit too much, and for the Toronto Blue Jays, they were too much for the San Francisco Giants. 9-3, they get the job done here. Patrick Corbin, he comes in long relief to be able to get the win. 1 run allowed in 2 1/3 innings after Spencer Miles. It feels like these guys might be piggybacking off of one another. 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Jeff Hoffman, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Mason Flaherty, Louis Varland, they both on a scoreless inning, and Trevor Old McDonald got destroyed. He got 7 outs, and he gave up 8 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run, as it was home run number 1 of the campaign for the young gun in Jonathan Clase. From there, Adrian, don't call him Doogie Yowzer, did not pitch like Doogie. 5 2/3 innings of no-hit baseball, but way too little, way too late. Ryan Walker from there was able to give you an inning, gives up a run along the way, and then for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they lose on the road against the Slam Diego Padres, 4-1 the final. Zach Gallen just continues to have a miserable season. 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, taken deep by Jake Cronenworth, 3rd home run season, and Germán Marquez, not bad here. 1 unearned run, give it up in 5 innings. Yuki Matsui, Johnny Burrito. From there, they combined for 2 shutout innings. Bradley Rodriguez, Mason Miller. They're both able to end a scoreless inning as well. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it certainly has been an overwhelming season thus far. And if you look at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, it's 50-50. 44 overs, 44 unders, and a push. Meanwhile, favorites on the money line, they've been cleaning up. 52 and 33 on the money line. All but 12 of those favorites have been able to cover the run line. And overall for the season, the over rate is currently right around about 50.7%. 678 overs, 660 unders, and if math serves me correct, we've had ourselves a grand total of 32 pushes. Meanwhile, favorites on the money line hitting at 56%. 746 and 585, and among those 746 favorites, we've had a whopping 177 not be able to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good buddies, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. It's myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Rob Donaldson aboard. He does such amazing work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, taking a look at all that we're getting in this landscape when it comes to college basketball season. He obviously does a great job on that landscape as well. He's over there at Underdog Fantasy. He's over on youtube.com/Rob Donaldson and on Twitter/X at RobDFB altogether. And Rob, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. Always a fantastic time. And we're approaching trade deadline season, and we have a really good feel on a lot of these baseball teams. This is the time of year where, I mean, this is all about this sport right now. I love this time of year. I'm excited to talk about it with you today, and I'm just excited to watch baseball for the next month and beyond.
Yep, I am as well, and I am very excited to see if anyone whatsoever can want this American League. I don't know what you make out of this whole league, because right now the Rays have been the best team in the league, but boy, oh boy, I can't remember ever seeing a league just so weak in my life, and it feels like just nobody wants to step up and win some games.
Oh yeah, I mean, top to bottom right now, the AL is horrific. You look at all these teams, and we've been talking about it for a while, Greg, but you know, some of the hype teams, right, coming into the season were, you said the Boston Red Sox, you said the Kansas City Royals, you said the Detroit Tigers, you even gave the A's a shot potentially, or the Blue Jays, or the Orioles. Outside of including in the Angels to that equation, those are the worst teams in the American League, which basically just outlines how just, you know, well below expectations the American League has performed. And quite frankly, that's lightly putting it, because to your point, might be the worst single league that we've ever seen in the history of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely incredible. And is there one or two teams that you think might be able to step up? I feel like I've asked this every single week, and the answer is that apparently none, because every single time, none of these teams have stepped up. But is there one or two that might? Because at some point, I think that someone has to win these games.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things that when you look at the A over the last couple months here, and I'm like grasping for straws, you know, the team that I've gravitated towards is the Texas Rangers. Not necessarily because, you know, the team that I think that they are right now is, you know, that World Series or that separator, you know, in the American League, but in large part because we've seen this Texas Rangers team just throw caution to the wind, essentially, and be like, hey, we don't care about our prospects in the future. We care about the now. Let's go ahead and ship some of these prospects off, and let's make some things happen right now. They've made trades in the offseason. They've made trades near the deadline. And, in terms of the deadline trades, it hasn't necessarily just been when they've been firmly in the mix. They've been like sub 500 in years past and have gone out and acquired those guys like a Merrill Kelly, for example. So I think when you're looking at the Rangers right now, yeah, Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, even Kumar Rocker as of late has been really good. I think that they have a strong core when you're talking about the starting rotation. Heck, if you want to include Mackenzie Gore in there too, you certainly can. But, in terms of the lineup, whether it's the ballpark they played in or just the amount of injuries, notably to like a Wyatt Langford, for example, who's now out of the lineup again, it just kind of feels like this lineup hasn't really found itself on track, but they feel like they're the closest to getting there if they are aggressive at the deadline. And so I'm going to latch on to the Rangers. I don't necessarily love it, but I tend to think that once the trade deadline passes, the Rangers are probably a team that had added a few pieces and probably trended in the right direction at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, man, it is really, really rough to say the least. As our good friend Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets, he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and it's going to be really interesting to see what we get moving forward out of some of these American League teams, because the White Sox just continue to be right around 500 / just above it. And don't look now, but perhaps the hottest team in the American League is the Boston Red Sox. They got Jake Bennett on the mound against Davis Martin. The Red Sox are currently like even money to plus 110 and a total of 8. Want to get your thoughts here, because certainly the Sox will win. I just don't know what color.
It's such a great point. And heck, I mean, there's a little bit of a revenge angle, I guess, if you will, here with Braden Montgomery and just the way that he has kind of burst on the scene with the White Sox. Obviously, he's a former Red Sox. He thought he would be playing on the other side. And so there's a lot of confusion going on here, Greg. Not only will a Sox team win, but I don't even know if half these players know who they're playing for. And I think when you're talking about the trajectory long term, I actually tend to think the White Sox are in a very, very good spot. Whether or not they're going to actually kind of see themselves as a true top 3 team in the American League come the trade deadline, and they're going to add to this roster, I don't necessarily know. It kind of feels like they're in a stage right now where they're just hoarding prospects and it's working out, so why change what's working? But as it currently stands, the White Sox are a far better team. Didn't think I'd be saying that at this point in the season when we're talking about the White Sox and Red Sox, but that's ultimately the truth. And I tend to think that even though Bennett's surface number ERA is an appealing number, it's it's around that 3.1 range. I tend to think when you look under the hood, he's due for some negative regression. So even though Davis Martin, you can feel how you feel about the bullpen, but Davis Martin's been fantastic. The White Sox lineup has been aggressive swinging. They've been fantastic as well. I'm going to be taking the White Sox while they're being priced like the White Sox, because they're not really playing like the White Sox that we thought they would be at this point in the season.
Yep, the White Sox have not been the White Sox of the past, that is for sure. Yeah. But they are squeaky clean in terms of making you money, as our good friend Rob Donaldson is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And then I think this one is going to be interesting. We've got the Rays and the Yankees with Garrett Cole against Shane McClanahan. -120 to -130 is that number on the Rays. And want to get your thoughts here, because the Yankees enter this series 4 games back of the Rays. We're currently doing this as we don't know how game number 2 on Tuesday went, but they got game 1, which was absolutely massive, and this is a huge series for a Yankees team that has been scuffling.
Scuffling is a nice way to put it. Very polite, Greg, because to be honest with you, without Aaron Judge in this lineup, truthfully, it doesn't matter who's on the bump. I mean, this is a team that's on par with the Royals, with the Angels in the American League. They're one of the worst teams in baseball without that star in the middle of their lineup. And Ben Rice has turned it up as of late. He actually just went yard, but that's also kind of come in the same vein where Paul Goldschmidt, who was red hot for a long time, is now in a 2 for 30 slump. And that's the entire lineup when you look at the Yankees, whether it's Volpe, whether it's Austin Wells, whether it's Jazz Chisholm, Cody Bellinger has been struggling. That's their entire lineup right there. Those are the key names that could have made a significant difference. If the Yankees are playing well, we're talking up at least a couple of those guys. We're talking up none of those guys. And also a guy that I think deserves some flack, and he's coming off injury, so we'll kind of see how this start goes. But Garrett Cole is probably having his worst season in Major League Baseball since he started. I don't think that's getting talked about enough, where if you go look at just the amount of batters he's walking up per average, the amount of hits he's giving up, the amount of strikeouts he's throwing out there, and also the opponent slugging percentage, all some of his worst numbers that he's ever posted in Major League Baseball. So maybe, it's year 36 for Garrett Cole in September. We've seen it, Greg, with Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, all these great pitchers. They hit that point in time where age becomes a factor. I think age is becoming a factor with Garrett Cole. And so I'm going to be fading the big name of the Yankees. I'm going to be fading the big name of Garrett Cole until I see something different. And the Rays are the perfect team to really exacerbate the issues that the Yankees have going on. So go ahead and give me the Rays on a number of different run lines. I'm fine with it.
Yep, I am in on that money line myself of the Rays. So we are in lockstep there. And that one is going to be a fun one. And don't look now, but the Atlanta Braves have really been scuffling. They're about even money here against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Grant Holmes against Jared Jones. Totals between 8.5 and 9. Want to get your thoughts here because I really think this is a good spot for the over. The Pirates have had no bullpen pitching whatsoever, but they actually lead the league in runs scoring at home. And Grant Holmes and Jared Jones are two guys I really don't trust in right now.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it there because, Grant Holmes, when you look at the amount of pitching that Atlanta has on the IR or in AAA. They just called up Owen Murphy, so we'll see how that goes, but not going well for Hurston Waldrop. They were hoping that one of these young guys kind of stepped into this rotation to supplant Grant Holmes, and instead it's just been kind of Ronaldo Lopez on the back end of this rotation again, kind of holding it down, doing his thing, doing a good job. But the reason why I say, they're trying to supplant Grant Holmes is they've moved this guy to the kind of the bulk reliever role at times, to the let's start him with an opener. They've obviously ran him out as a true starting pitcher where he's like the guy that's taking the mound in the first inning as well. But nothing has really kind of helped him avoid the hard contacts because, whether he's pitching 2 innings, 3 innings, or 5 innings, you look down all of his games and he's unavoiding of that long ball. And the Pirates at home especially, they hit the ball deep. I mean, Ryan O'Hearn just went yard twice with 7 ribbies, and he's just one of the guys that plays a major factor in this lineup. So I tend to think, to your point, the over is a great play, but I also think just the Pirates' money line through the first 5 innings or through the full game, even though I probably would avoid the full game due to the bullpen, I think the first 5 is where I'm going to target with the Pirates tomorrow, and I'm going to feel pretty good about it there.
Yep, I feel good about that as well. And then we have to take a look at this matchup between the Brewers and the Cardinals, as the Cardinals have used up a lot of pitching over the last few days, and now they have to go up against Kyle Harrison of the Brewers, and Michael McGreevy goes for the Cardinals, who doesn't get any strikeouts whatsoever, but yet he's been able to maintain the ERA. Right now the total is 8, and the Brewers are minus 130, minus 135 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here because I feel like Michael McGreevy is just so overdue for regression, and I think it might be starting to come sooner rather than later.
I'm a true Cardinals fan. I know you're a true Brewers fan, so we have opinions on this series and deep, and it goes back in time even, right? But, to your point, look at Michael McGreevy under the hood, and he's obviously a young pitcher. He's going to make development, and he's already posting, a 3.12 ERA. But to add on to your point, it feels like negative regression is about to come in droves for a guy that I think long-term is going to have a great career. He's definitely a pitch-to-contact guy, but you can't be a pitch-to-contact guy, give up a ton of hard contact, and just be like, oh, yeah, I'm a 3 ERA pitcher. Eventually, everything comes out in the wash, right? And Kyle Harrison on the other side, he looks legitimate in terms of what his surface stats say versus what the underlying numbers as well. And, from that standpoint, I think through the first 5 innings, when you have kind of that stark advantage on one side rather than the other, I'm fully on board the Brewers through the first 5 innings, whether it's on the run line, whether it's on the money line. I think both of them are going to be fully intact. And I think you're going to feel good about it either way because, again, it could just be a blow up outing for Michael McGreevy here.
Yep, I am right there with you, and this is a really good slate that we've got on Wednesday. All 30 teams are in action. Anything else that you're taking a look at, Rob?
I look at that Blue Jays-Giants game, and one of the best pitchers in baseball, it feels like every single year, and it's ringing true again this year, is Dylan Cease. And not only is he limiting hard contact this year at a rate that we've never seen him really do to this level, strikeouts are still there. And yes, he's had the injury bug a little bit this season. He's kind of missed some starts here and there, but nothing significant. And now he's going up against the Giants offense that, Rafael Devers has really turned it up as of late. But outside of him, I mean, this lineup is still the Giants lineup, and it's pitching in Oracle as well. I tend to think there's a stark advantage on the side of Toronto here. Dylan Cease is one of those guys that just makes an impact every time out. Logan Webb is great, but if you take the full game angle approach, I think Dylan Cease is going to have more of an impact on this game at a high level. So go ahead and give me the Blue Jays at a pick 'em. I really love that bet there.
Yep, it's going to be really interesting to see what we get on this card. It's going to be a fun one, and I know that you, Rob, are doing such an amazing job taking a look at this great sport of baseball and so much more so. All the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, hey, Greg, it's always a blast talking ball with you. And for those who want to follow my bets on a nightly basis, Twitter/X at RobDFB. And as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
I appreciate you, Rob. Rob does such a great job looking at this wonderful sport, and every single time he joins me, makes us all smarter and lends such great insight. So a big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming in next, it is that time to podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by our guy, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So, big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we get things started with 901, 902 on the card? It is the Atlanta Braves. They're going to be walking the plank on the road to face off against the Pittsburgh Pirates as Jared Jones is on the bump for the Puckos, and you've got one Mr. Grant Holmes going for the Braves. The Braves are an underdog between -102 to +104, -118 to -122. That number on Pittsburgh, 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is -115, the under is -105, and then on the 9, the under is -115, over is -105, and I'm in on the over. I did set my total here at a 9.1 with Jared Jones. He has been quite a bit shaky this year. Now, the strikeout stuff has been good for him. He has been giving you right in that neighborhood about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he has been getting taken deep quite a bit. Now, once again, the fielding independence is lower than the 5.28 ERA. That's 4.35, but 1.6 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. And for Grant Holmes, he has just had a lot of command issues. For Mr. Holmes, he's right now supplying a 3.83 ERA, but a much higher 5.21 fielding dependence, 7.8 strikeouts, 4.2 walks per 9 innings, and E2 giving up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. You've got an Atlanta Braves team that has really hit better away from home rather than at home. Fourth in the league in road scoring with about 5.1 runs per game. And then for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they're 5.5 runs per game at home. That is number 1 in all baseball. So you should be able to get some scoring here. Now for the Braves, they do rank number 1 in the big leagues in terms of opening ERA, but they are dealing with a few injuries. The main one being Robert Suarez being out of the fold. And then you've got the Dillons, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, who have been able to give you sub 3.25 ERA. Raciel Iglesias, I know he's had a tough last few days, but he's been able to be a solid reliever for this team. You've been able to have Didi Fuentes do a solid job as well. And then for the Braves, Michael Harris continues at above a 300 with 13 plus home runs. Ozzie, Albies. He, Dom Smith, Mauricio Dubon, Matt Olson, only between about a 272, 275 for Olson, 24 plus home runs this season. Now, the bottom of the lineup is starting to let you down a little bit. Austin Riley just has not been himself this year. Jim Jarvis is a guy that they're giving at bats to. That's not necessarily where you want to be in. For the Pirates, you have 1 or 2 guys at the bottom like Henry Davis that you need a bit more from, but Emmanuel Valdez is outing a 300 for the team along Jake Magnum. These mix and match guys don't necessarily have a ton of power, but they're moving the line. Brandon Lau, he's getting loud, 19 plus home runs. It's about a 245. Ryan O'Hearn, double figure bombs, 345 on base. Nick Gonzalez hitting above 300. And then for the Pirates, the reason why I'm going to be against them here is because bullpen is quite a bit shaky. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez has actually been solid. He's been able to give you sub 350 ERA, but arguably their best reliever, Evan Sisk, just hit the injury list. Gregory Soto has seen his ERA go above a 350. You've had Dennis Santana, Mason Montgomery be all over the place. So for the Braves, set them at a -104. I'm in on their money line, and I'm in on the over. Set my total 9.1. 903, 904 on the card. It is the Phillies. They're going to be on the road against the Reds. Yes, we're on at Cincinnati as Chase Burns is on the bump for Cincinnati, and currently it is undecided who is going to be on the bump for the Philadelphia Phillies. This is a game that is presently off the board, but right now, looking through the grapevine, it's looking like Brian Keller is going to be getting the start for this bunch, and that, as a result, had me setting this total at an 8.7, 8.5 or less, and on the over a 9 or higher to the under. And for the Reds, I'd be willing to lay up to minus 187 on the money line, pretty much even money or better. We'll be looking at the run line plus 189 or better. I would be looking at the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, if you don't get Brian Keller and you get a bullpen game, it's pretty much going to be very, very similar because, man, Brian Keller is not a guy that I really trust him whatsoever. I really don't trust in whoever is going to be getting the start here for the Philadelphia Phillies because it's not anything good whatsoever, even if it were to be like Aaron Nola, man. That's not great, but if you do look at the numbers of Brian Keller, just a career minor leaguer, he has been stuck there for forever, and if I'm not mistaken, he's a UW-Milwaukee alum, so shout out to my home state of Wisconsin, but that said, at the minor league level, he was able to plus up a 2.30 ERA, but in his 8 appearances, only went 27 and a third innings. He was giving up 4 walks, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. I've got all sorts of question marks here, and for Chase Burns, he's probably doing for a little bit of regression with his ERA. Right now, he's been able to supply a 2.40 ERA, 3.29 fielding dependent, 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.1 home runs per 9, and he does face off against a Philadelphia Phillies team that just hasn't been quite the same offense away from home rather than at home. At home, they're averaging about 4.9 runs per game, 3.9 runs per game away from home. That is a bottom 6 mark in all of baseball. Now, for the Philadelphia Phillies, you've seen the likes of Trey Turner down for what? Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, all of a sudden heat up a little bit, but they're only below a 245. It's not like you're getting supreme power. They all have 11 home runs or fewer. It's been Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper just carrying the team. For Harper, he's been able to give you over a 350 on base, 20 home runs. Schwarber over a 360 on base, 30 home runs. And I will say, you've gotten Brandon Marsh really going for the team as well, but JT Realmuto has been terrible at the catcher spot. Umando Sosa and just the mix and match outfielders like Adolis Garcia and company that right now give you nothing whatsoever. And for the Cincinnati Reds, it has been a team that's been very rough with their bullpen, but it's all of a sudden been able to improve. Ever since you've been able to get Caleb Ferguson off the injured list, he's been solid. Sam Mole, along with Brock and Roll Burke, these have been guys who have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. The long guys like Chase Petty and company still are not great. Tony Santillan's been absolutely awful this year. That's why the Cincinnati Reds team right around about 25th, 468 is that bullpen ERA, but they're improving. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, it's a top heavy bullpen. You don't mess with the Johan Duran. He's been able to give you a sub 250 ERA along with Ryan Kirkering. Tim Hayes has been solid as well, but the likes of Chase Shogurt and Jose Alvarado, these have been guys that have been a little bit rough here, but they're still about 19th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. And for the Cincinnati Reds, getting back Ellie De La Cruz absolutely massive for this lineup as he, JJ Bleday, Spencer Steer, all between 13 to 14 home runs this season. De La Cruz double figure amount of stolen bases, right around about a 340 on base because it's Al Stewart. 17 bombs. He's been able to give you over 340 on base. And then Nathaniel Lowe, not a ton of power, but he's hitting about a 250. You need more out of the likes of TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, Tyler Stevenson at the bottom lineup, but it's starting to sort itself out. So 8.5 or less in on the over, a 9 or higher to the under. Pretty much anything of plus money. I'd be looking at the Reds on the run line. I would need at least plus 189 on the Philadelphia Phillies. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Cardinals. They are going to be playing us to the Milwaukee Brewers as Kyle Harrison is on the bump for the Crew and Michael McGreevy is on the bump for the St. Louis Cardinals. For the Cardinals, they are between plus 110 to a plus 120, minus 130 to a minus 142 is that number on Milwaukee. 8 is the total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and I did set my total at 8.2. I'm going to be in on the over, and I'm willing to lay it with the Milwaukee Brewers. Kyle Harrison had that one bad start in lovely Las Vegas where he gave up 8 runs that did warp his road numbers a little bit, but still, 282 ERA, 3 fielding independent, 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has given up pretty much 3 earned runs or fewer in every one of his starts aside from that one since the beginning of April, so I do like what I'm seeing there. Meanwhile, for McGreevy, he is pitching to a lot of contact, and he's been able to do a good job in terms of doing soft contact, but that 3.12 ERA I think is going to be going northward. 4.32 fielding dependent, 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.1 walks, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings allowed, and for the Cardinals, boy, did they have to bust through that bullpen over the last few days. And it's not necessarily a great bullpen to start with. Matt Savanson, who was the opener in game number 1, he's supplying an ERA well above a 6. You've got the likes of Justin Brule, Jojo Romero, who are in that neighborhood about a 350 to a 370 ERA. Gordon Gaseffo has been in and out of the lineup. Ryan Stanek is supplying an ERA that's hovering right around about a 5. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, you've had so many guys like Trevor McGill, Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, all give you a sub 330 ERA. Brian Fitzpatrick, when you need him, he's probably not going to be with the team right now, but but he's been able to do a solid job as well. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, they just do such an amazing job of small balling you to death. Heck, up until yesterday, Christian Yelich wasn't necessarily giving you a whole heck of a lot. He's still been able to give you a 330 on base. And then you've got the likes of William Contreras, Bryce Terang, Garrett Mitchell, all between about a 350 to a 365 on base. Jake Bauers is in that fold as well. And Bauers hits 14 to 15 home runs. That leads the way in terms of home run Bauers. This team is in the bottom 6. In terms of home runs out of Pratt at bases, need a little bit more of Cooper Pratt, but all these guys have been solid. And for the Cardinals, like the backup catcher spot has been a little bit rough, but Ivan Herrera, 390 on base, JJ Weatherholt, Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, between about a 350 to a 365 on base. You've been able to get Nathan Church at the bottom of the fold to be able to give you some production as well. And then with Jordan Walker, 19 plus home runs, as a matter of fact, 20 plus home runs. I will say for the Cardinals, they've been averaging right around about 5.5-ish runs per game away from them. 3.7 runs per game at home. I do think that that's going to normalize a little bit, but Brewers should be able to get the job done here. I'm willing to lay up to minus 147 on the money line, and like the over, somebody told it at 8.2. 9-7, 9-8 on the card. The Colorado Rockies are on the road against the LA Dodgers. Roki Sasaki is on the bump for the Dodgers, and Ryan Feltner goes for Colorado. Colorado does find themselves as a underdog here between plus 180 to a plus 185, minus 215 to a minus 230 is that number on the LA Dodgers. 9.5 to 10 is your total on the 10. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 9.5. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with this one, I did set my total at 9.7. Personally, I would rather take a 9.5 to the over rather than a 10 to the under, so that's where I'm looking here, mainly because, man, the Colorado Rockies have been having some massive bullpen issues. You got Antonio Sensatella, who's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but you do have Seth Alverson, who's been having his issues. Jaden Hill, along with Juan Mejia, have been awful. Mejia is now on the injured list. Victor Vodnik has an ERA above a 5 this year, and Ryan Feltner hasn't been the world's worst pitcher for the Rockies. 427 ERA, 467 field independent, but still giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and these have been two really good offenses this season. For the LA Dodgers, they do average more runs away from home rather than at home. They're averaging 4.6 runs per game at home, more like 6 runs per game away from home, but still second overall in the big leagues in terms of run creation. You got a Rockies team that's actually averaging 4.7 runs per game away from home compared to just above 5 runs per game at home. Not as big of home and road splits as I've truly ever seen for this team. That's because Hunter Goodman is a good man. He's been able to give you 27 home runs, and the vast majority of those have come away from home. And then you've got plenty of guys that just find a way to be able to move line and get on base. Mickey Moniak, 15 home runs. He's been able to hit about a 275. You've been able to get good production out of their young call-up Cole Carrig, who's been able to hit well above a 250 for this team. TJ Bromfield, he's been hitting above a 300. Jake McCarthy's hitting above a 300. Still need more out of some of these guys like an Ezekiel Tovar, but I love what these guys bring to the table. And then for the LA Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, he's been able to give you a 410 on base. He's now up to 19 home runs. And then Freddie Freeman, Andy Paz, Max Muncy, owing at least a 263, between 15 to 17 home runs apiece out of them. Dalton Rushing has been inconsistent, but still hitting a 270 for 10 home runs and 171 at-bats going into yesterday. That's not too bad. It's been an LA Dodgers bullpen that has been a little bit up and down throughout the season, but still, with this LA Dodgers bullpen, they are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, and they've had Tanner Scott really start to have a little bit of a rough go of it over the last few weeks. We saw what happened on Monday, but still, he's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Kyle Hurt, he's below a 375 ERA. Will Klein, along with Alex Vesia, sub 325 ERA out of both of them. And Brock and Roll Surts, that's coming off the injury list, a sub 2 ERA. And with this LA Dodgers team, I do think that Roki Sasaki is going to be able to give you a relatively good start, which is why I'm going to be in on their run line. I was willing to go up to a minus 128 with regards to that run line. Currently, we're finding that right around about, I'm seeing as good as an even money, but more around minus 115, minus 120, which I'm still willing to lay with them because for Roki Sasaki, he does have an ERA well above a 6 when he's away from home, more in that neighborhood about 4 when he's at home. Overall, it does have a 540 ERA. He's giving up 2 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings. So 9.5 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. For the Dodgers, willing to lay up to a minus 127 on that run line. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. It's the Diamondbacks. They're going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. As Michael King hopes to be the king for the Pods, and Jose Cabrera is on the bump for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks does find themselves as a pretty sizable underdog here of between plus 128 to a plus 130. Meanwhile, minus 150 to minus 155 is that number on Slam Diego. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 7.5. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 8. The under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And with this Padres team, I set their money line at a minus 156. Don't want to quite go in on the run line because, well, it is a Padres team that's been dead sinking last in terms of run creation in the National League this year, but I'm going to be willing to dive in on them For Michael King, he's overall for the season giving you a 3.52 ERA, but a higher 4-time fielding dependent, 7.7 strikeouts, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, keeping the ball in the yard, about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but still, it's been a little bit wobbly from, and you take a look at what Michael King has been able to do in the city of San Diego this year. The ERA is more around about a 3.28. He's giving up closer to about 1 home run per 9 innings, so he's been a little bit better there, but still, considering that it's Petco Park, a little bit higher than what you'd expect. And on the flip side of things, you've got a guy in Jose Cabrera who has only made 3 career starts for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it's been a bit wishy-washy. 4.73 ERA, 4.89 fielding dependent, 2 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings. He can't make everything out of this very small sample size, and when he was at the minor league level this year, more like a 3.69 ERA, but at that minor league level, he was giving up about 1.2 home runs, getting about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's backed up by a bullpen that's about league average. I just really don't trust in Paul Sewald at the closer's role, but you know what, you've got so many guys like Ryan Thompson, Juan Mejia, and company that have been able to give you a sub 3.50 ERA. Even Kevin Ginkel has been solid, and for the San Diego Padres, they are now outside the top 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. That 23 spot that they gave up to the Chicago Cubs is a big reason why, but Mason Miller has still been one of the best closers in all of baseball. He's still been able to get really good production on something like a Bradley Rodriguez, Wandy Peralta, both of these guys below a 2.50 ERA. Jason Adam, he's been able to give you about a 2.50 ERA. He's been a little bit banged up recently, but Yuki Matsui, sub 2 ERA out of him as well. For the Padres, they just need to find a way to be able to get more out of their offense, as Manny Machado's up to 18 home runs, but hitting below the Mendoza line of 200, and then you've got Jackson Merrill, Ty France, who both have been able to give you 10 home runs, but for Merrill, throw in there Xander Bogaerts, the currently injured Nick Castellanos, Jake Cronenworth, Rodolfo Durant. Just go down the list of guys hitting at 235 or less, and then Fernando Tatis Jr., 343 on base, but still, he's only been able to supply for you 5 home runs thus far this season. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they've been a little bit down with their power as well. You've been able to have Corbin Carroll be able to give you about a 350 or so on base. He's up to 13 home runs, and then Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 17 home runs. He's hitting about a 270 as well, but we've seen Guillermo Vargas ever since that hot starts fall down the toilet bowl a little bit. Geraldo Perdomo has been able to give you about a 355 on base, and then Gabriel Moreno, he's been able to give you about a 370 as well. So interesting circumstance here. I set my money line price at a minus 156. I like that money line, and I'm going to be in on the over. I did set my total at 8.6, 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Athletics. They're going to be on the road against the Detroit Tigers, as Troy Melton is on the bump for the Tigres, and you've got one Mr. Jeffrey Springs on the bump for the Athletics, and the Athletics do find themselves as an underdog, plus 126 or plus 135, minus 148 to minus 160 for the Tigres. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. Over is anywhere between plus 105 to a minus 110. Minus 110 to minus 125 is that number on the under juice, and you've got the 8.5 to the over at a minus 120, and the under is even. And with Troy Melton and the Tigers, I did set them here at a minus 136. So if we can get a plus 137 or better with the Athletics, which when the timelines come out, we should be able to, I will be in on their money line. For Troy Melton, I just fear a lot of regression with him right now, because for Melton, he's been able to post up a really nice 2.05 ERA, but a 4.54 field dependent, pitching to a lot of contact, 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. He has been all sorts of fortunate that these have been solo shots, because if not, he'd be getting so badly burnt. And for Jeffrey Springs, well, he has been getting sprung thus far this season. Right now, he is supplying an ERA of a 5.79, 2.3 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. Now, much of this has been the fact that he has been pitching in Las Vegas and or Sacramento, and he has been absolutely awful in his home starts as far this season, but not like he's been great away from home. That's a 4.38 ERA away from home, and he's still given up well above 1.7 home runs per 9 innings as well, and he is backed up by a bullpen that is hovering right around about a 5 with regards to ERA. Elvis Alvarado's been in the building, giving you over a 4 ERA. Mark Leiter Jr. has been awful for this team. Hogan Harris has been able to give you sub 3.50 ERA, and then you've got someone like Jose Suarez, who's able to give you some okay long relief. Mason Barnett is more around about a 3.72 ERA, but all sorts of rough for this team. And for the Athletics, they are currently dealing with the injury to Tyler Soderstrom. That does hurt them a little bit with regards to that lineup, but Carlos Cortez, who gives you about a 3.50 on base, is back. You've had Nick Kurtz and Shea Legulares, both give you 19 plus home runs. Kurtz well above a 4 on base, getting back Zach Loff off the injured list, a home run every about 15 or so bats, hitting a 285. That's rock solid for this team as well. And Henry Bolte, not a lot of power, but a 3.75 on base. Flip side for the Detroit Tigers, 2 main guys move the line. Riley Green along Kevin McGonigal above a 3.75 on base. You need more of these guys like Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry, James Outman, a lot of guys hitting below a 210 for the team. But Kerry Carpenter seems to be picking up a little bit. He and Spencer Torkelson have been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, and Dylan Dingler, he's been able to hit above a 260, and he's been able to give you 19 plus home runs as well. So you do have to love what you're seeing there. And then when it comes to this bullpen, Will Vest has been absolutely absolutely awful, but you do have some of these guys that are starting to round into a little bit of better form. Drew Anderson, along with Emmanuel De Jesus, have been presentable long guys. I'm not going to say great long guys, but you know what? You've been able to get a little bit of something there. Kenley Jansen is still a guy that I really don't trust in, to say the least, but Tyler Holden has been able to hold down the front end. That's been big because Brant Herter being out with injury, along with Bert Smith, that has been killing the team a little bit, but if I can get a plus 137 or better, which I should be able to in this spot, I'm going to be taking a look at that money line, and right now I'm seeing pretty much all 9s out there on the board. I did set my total at 8.9. The Athletics have not quite had the same amount of scoring away from home rather than at home, so at a 9+, I'm in on the under as well. 9-13, 9-14 on the card. It's the Yankees. They're going to be on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan goes for the Rays, and Garrett Cole is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees who find themselves between plus 102 to a plus 105. Minus 125 to minus 130, seeing minus 120 out there as well. That number on the Rays, 7.5 is the total, over and under, and between minus 105 to a minus 115. And for the Yankees, I did set their money line at a plus 144, so I'm going to be willing to lay here with the Rays. For the Rays, Sugar Shane McClanahan, he's been able to do a solid job all season long, right around about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up just 0.7 bombs per 9, and you got a guy in Garrett Cole that has really been struggling. Talked about this with Rob Donaldson. 401 ERA, 440 fielding dependent, back above 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, that's an issue. And the Yankees entered into Tuesday having scored a grand total of 51 runs in their last 17 games. Like, things have really toilet bowled for them. Good news is you still have Ben Rice, who's been able to give you some power. He's up to 26 home runs this season. His on-base percentage is above 360, but Paul Goldschmidt, he has went down the toilet bowl. He's back below 325 on base. You do have Trent Grisham along with Cody Bellinger between about a 335 to a 345 on base, but even Bellinger is down a little bit of a slump. Jose Calabrillo, he moves the line a little bit, but it doesn't really provide a lot of power. Catcher spot has been an issue, and then Junior Caminero, guys give you 11 home runs over the last 13 games, 370 on base, and then Jonathan Aranda, Yandy Diaz, both of these guys, 13 plus home runs, both above a 380 on base, and these mix and match guys, Chandler Simpson is giving you a 275 average, and he swipes a lot of bags. You've had Nick Fortes hit above a 250, Richie Palacios moves the line, even Taylor Walls is up to about a 330 on base. Now for the Rays, are at a little bit of a disadvantage with the bullpen, but you've had Casey Lugumina, Cam Boozer supply a sub 3 ERA in a Rays uniform, Brian Baker, Kevin Kelly. These have been a pair of guys who have been able to give you a sub 275 ERA as well. And then flip side of things, you've got a Yankees team that has been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. David Benar has not pooped the Benar. He's been able to give you sub 350 ERA commute. Well, it's been rough, but you still have the likes of a Brent Hedrick, Paul Blackburn, who have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, Fernando Cruz as well. So it's an interesting circumstance. I do think that the Rays are just enough for the over, so I told 7.6, so like the over, and for the Rays, willing to lay up to a minus 143 on the money line. 9-15, 9-16 on the card. It's a battle of Sox, as the White Sox, they are going to be playing us to the Red Sox, and it is Jake Bennett who's going to be on the bump for the Red Sox, and for the White Sox, you've got Davis Martin on the bump. For Martin and the White Sox, you're going to be getting them in between a minus 118 to a minus 130. Meanwhile, for the Red Sox, it's between even money to plus 110. It is the total, over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I'm in on the White Sox. I set them at a minus 144, although I will say the Sox will win this game. Jake Bennett has been very good. 310 ERA, 314 fielding dependence, 0.7 home runs, 1.5 walks per 9 innings, but does pitch to a lot of contact. And then for our good friend Davis Martin, 308 ERA, 308 fielding dependence, so it all matches up there. He's been able to get about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I do recognize that it's been a little bit touch and go for Davis Martin over the last month or so, but he seems to be rounding back into form. He's given up a combined 3 earned runs over the course of his last 3 starts, and when it comes to pitching out there in Chicago for one Mr. Davis Martin, he has been able to post up a 0.88 home ERA with 1 home run allowed in 41 innings. Like, holy crud, that's been good. And he gets a face-off against the Red Sox lineup that has been much better when they've been away from home rather than at home. For the Red Sox, right now they are averaging about 3.5 runs per game at home. That's worse than the American League. Meanwhile, 4.6 runs per game away from home, but you don't necessarily have a lot of boom for the team. They continue to be a team that's in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. You have to love what Wilson Contreras has been able to supply for the team, as he's been able to give you 20-plus home runs. His on-base percentage is right in that neighborhood, about a 380. And then you've all of a sudden been able to have a few young guys be able to step up. Weiler Abreu, Cedon Rafael, Masataka Yoshida, even Isaiah Canero-Falefa, not necessarily young guys, but 325 to a 345 on-base, the young guy. And Anthony Siegler has been able to give you about a 300 average, so that's been solid, and they need it because Jarren Duran, while he gives you a double-figure amount of homers, hitting a 197, that's not great, but for the White Sox, they've been a top 10 team in terms of run creation. Colson Montgomery, not necessarily a lot of average, 308 on base, but 20-plus home runs. If you have Miguel Vargas, be able to give you a 365 on base, 19-plus home runs, and Randall Grichuk is getting a home run every, 10, 11 at-bats. He's been able to do a solid job being able to move line for the team. Sam Antonassi, 380 on base. Tristan Peters has been able to give you about a 350 on base. Chase Meadroth gets on base as well, and for the White Sox, it's about a league average team in terms of opening area. I recognize it's Frankie Dominguez has not been great for the team along with Jordan Hicks, but you do have these mix and match guys like Sean Newcomb, Bryant Hudson, Grant Taylor. They've been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA, and for the Red Sox, they are going to be at an advantage with regards to the bullpen. Garrett Woodlock is a long guy, sub 3 ERA. Teron Guerrero has been solid because you've had a lot of injuries to these guys like Tyler Semenijo and company. Aroldis Chapman continues to be one of the better closers in all baseball, but Danny Kaluma's had a rough season. ERA is starting to go down, but still above a 450. You've had Justin Slayton have all sorts of issues as well, and I do think that Davis Martin going to continue to be dominant at home. Now, I do like the over. I did set my total at 8.2, but for the White Sox, willing to lay up to a minus 143 on the money line. 917, 918 on the card. You've got the Guardians, and they're going to be on the road facing up against the Minnesota Twins, as Connor Prelip is going to be going for the Twins, and Mr. Slade Sassoni is on the bump for the Cleveland Guardians, and the Guardians do find themselves as a very small underdog here, as you're going to be catching with them anywhere between plus 110 to a plus 115, minus 130 to minus 140. That number on Minnesota, 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115, over is minus 105, and with the Twins, I set them at a minus 122. Right now, we're seeing about plus 115 out there. I think when it's all said and done, I should be able to get a plus 122 on the Guardians. I would be willing to back them on the money line, and if worse comes to worse, if you're looking at more of the run line prices right now, for the Twins, you're finding that in that neighborhood about a plus 160, plus 165. If I could find a plus 170 run line, we'll be looking there. So we've got a few options out there, but when it's all said and done, I do think that I land on the Guardians. For Slade Sassoni, while the overall numbers have not necessarily been the world's greatest for the season, he has really been able to round into form. He has given up 300 runs or fewer in 10 out of his last 11 starts. Last one was a little bit of a blow up against the White Sox. 4.44 ERA, 4.39 fielding dependent. He gives up 1.2 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, but again, he's pitched much better ever since that disastrous start to the season, and Connor Prelip is a guy that has been able to pitch much better than what the just raw numbers would indicate. Right now for Prelip, a 4.96 ERA, but that fielding dependent is a 3.63, so only giving up 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. The 3.4 walks per 9 innings, that's a little bit of an issue because he's backed up by a bullpen that has been no good, very bad, and terrible this year. The Twins are dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA at a 5.28, and I mean, other than perhaps Yandres Gomez, guys in a Minnesota Twins uniform have not been providing a sub 3.35 ERA out of that bullpen thus far this season, like Andrew Morris, Eric Orze, Travis Adams, all these guys, Cody Lawyerson. They are all absolutely terrible for this team. But for the Minnesota Twins, you've also got Byron Buxton, who I recognize that he's now on the injury list. He's been able to carry the team, but you still have the likes of a Brooks Lee, who's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers. Cody Clemens, between those two guys, a combined 30 home runs. Ryan Jeffers, he's been dealing with a little bit of ailment as well, so that's something that you need to be taken into account. But Royce Lewis, ever since he got brought up from the minor league level, he's been looking a little bit better. You look at him over the last 30 days, and he's hitting more like a 285 home runs in his last 100 at bats, so that's going to be able to help hold down the fort for the team. And then on the other end, you got a Guardians team that they're averaging about 3.5 to 3.6 runs per game in their last 29 games, depending upon how Tuesday wound up, as they just have been without Jose Ramirez, Ana Martinez, two of their best power hitters, and Rhys Hoskins. He's giving you a 321 on base, but a 181 average with 8 home runs because he hit one yesterday. That's not cutting it. Davis Schneemann, he's only been able to give you about a 285 on base. Patrick Bailey's hitting below the Bedell's line 200. Stephen Kwan is hitting a 220. You're just not getting a lot out of these guys. Chase Slaughter, Travis Pizzana, they're right around about a 340 on base, along with Brian Rocchio closer to 350 on base. And with Josh Bell being able to rise up for the Twins team, I do think that they get the job done, even though the Guardians certainly have a advantage with regards to bullpen. Cade Smith, a sub 325 ERA. Sean Armstrong has been able to do a really nice job, along Tim Aaron, sub 350 ERAs out of them. Eric Zabrowski, a little bit shaky since coming off the injury list, but he's been solid. So on the 8.5, I like the under, so I told it at 8.3. And with regards to this Minnesota Twins team, I did have to downgrade them without Byron Buxton. I did set them at a minus 122, so they should be a favorite, but plus 123 or better. I'm going to be looking at the Guardians on the money line. 919, 920 on the card. It's the Angels. They're going to be on the road against the Rangers. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for the Rangers, and Walpe Yarena is on the bump for the Angels. Angels find themselves as underdogs anywhere between plus 124 to a plus 135, minus 146 to minus 160 is at number on Texas. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 7.5. Over is minus 115, under is minus 105 on the 8, under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I made my total at 8.3. I'm going to be in on the over. You've got Walpe Yarena, who's been able to post up a really nice ERA. 3.03 ERA, 3.88 fielding dependent, though, with a 4.8 walks per 9 innings. And where that becomes an issue is that the LA Angels bullpen is just not good, to say the least. Right now for the Angels, 24th in terms of bullpen ERA at a 4.57, and they've trotted out there Jordan Romano, Alec Manoah, what, these guys all suck. I will say you've had Kirby Yates be able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Ryan Zefrian has not been able to do his job, but been able to get a little bit of something out of Chase Silseth. Sam Bachman is getting a little bit better, but I still have all sorts of question marks there. And this has been an Angels team that's been averaging over 4.7 runs per game away from home. They've been a top 10 offense in terms of scoring away from home. You still are without Mike Trout, but Joe Delson fired to the rain, double-figure amount of homers. He and as well Peraza both give you about a 245 or so average. Wade Meckler continues to be solid. He's hitting at 280. These mix mix and match guys like Jose Siri and company have been solid, though. They've been out of the fold over the last few days. Zach Neto, he continues to give you 15-plus home runs, only about a 230 average, but goes through to a 322 on base, and then Nolan Juno moves line for about a 330 on base, and it has been a Rangers team that has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, and having Wyatt Langford out of the fold hurts them, but Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, 14-plus home runs apiece, and Peterson is up to about a 340 on base, so he's helping out the Peterson cause. You've got Brandon Nimmo, who's been able to about a 260, Ezekiel Duran, he's hitting about a 275, Nicky Lopez has been a nice surprise, hitting above 300, Elias Diaz is moving line, not a lot of power for this team, but they've been able to do a solid job just holding down the fort. Now, with the Rangers, they've been a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA over the last 35 days. They're dealing with the injury to Jacob Junis. Jacob Latz and Tyler Alexander have been solid. They've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. You've been able to have Gavin Collier be able to give you some nice innings, and then Peyton Gray is a sub 3 ERA, but Cole Winn has been all sorts of miserable. Chris Martin has not been able to really find it this far this season. And with the LA Angels, I do think that they're going to have a little bit of a tough time getting into Mackenzie Gore, because though Gore has his command issues as well, and you do take a look at the ERA, it's a 431. His fielding dependent is more around about a 345, 0.8 home runs, 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. And with Gore, he just has been so much better when he has been at home rather than away from home. Arlington is one of the best ballparks in all of baseball in terms of suppressing offenses. He's got a 581 road ERA, a 249 home ERA. At home, he's only giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, and I do think that the Rangers get the job done here. I did set them on the money line at a minus 163. Don't think I want to go run line here, but I'm going to go money line. I do like the over. I did set my total at 8.3. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Blue Jays on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Logan Webb is on the bump for the Giants, and we got Dylan Cease and Deceased on the bump for the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 116, minus 102 to a minus 110 is that number on San Francisco. 7 is the total, under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I'm going to be riding with the over. I did set my total at 7.4. Now, Dylan Cease has been absolutely incredible with his swing and miss stuff. Strikeouts per 9 rate, that is all the way up to a 13.6, 276 ERA, 226 fielding independent, but he is giving up the 4.1 walks per 9 innings. He's backed up by a bullpen that's been solid. The Blue Jays are 11th in the league, 380 ERA. Tommy Nance is nothing great, but he's been solid. Jeff Hoffman really has not been. Got Tyler Rogers along Louis Varland. Both of these guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, and Braden Fisher has been a little bit up and down. Hasn't been bad, though. And for the Blue Jays, I do think that they give you a little bit more offensively than they have over the just past few months, because they're currently a bottom 7 or 8 team in terms of run creation. They are dealing with AC Sanchez being on the injury list, but still, you've got quite a few guys like Ernie Clement, Yohendrick Pinago, Nathan Lukes, who'll be able to hit above a 280. Vlad he's down to about a 265, 270 average, and you just need more than 4 home runs out of him, because right now Kazuma Okamoto is the lone guy in the roster that's been able to give you double figure amount of homers, but at the very least, these guys are doing a nice job in terms of being able to put the ball in play. And for the San Francisco Giants, they've been a bunch that has been in the bottom 7 in terms of overall run creation at home as well. Now, San Francisco, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all baseball, and they're dealing with some injuries. Matt Chapman, Daniel Susic being on the injury list is an issue. Rafael Devers all of a sudden is on pace for nearly 30 home runs this season, so you love that. Luis Reyes, along with Jungle Lee, have been able to above a 300. You're getting back Eloy Ramos as well. That's big because Harrison Bader has been awful, is back on the injury list. Bryce Eldridge, right around about 360 on base, and then Willie Adames, 14 home runs, but less than a 285 on base. Casey Schmidt has been able with the deep ball as well. With the Giants, they have fallen into the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of open area, with Keaton Wynn and Matt Gage being on the injury list. Ryan Walker and Caleb Killian both supplying over a 350 ERA. Dylan Smith was really good for the short term. He has seen his ERA go up a little bit more as well, so you have to have your question marks there, but Logan Webb throughout his career just has been so good at home. And for Logan Webb, ever since coming off the injury list, he's been a new man. 218 ERA with 0.6 home runs per 9 innings in his last 7 starts, and for his career, 288 ERA at home with 0.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. So I did set the Giants here at a minus 130. I'm willing to trust in them on the money line. I do like the over, so my total at 7.4. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Orioles as Dean Kramer goes for the Orioles, and Mr. Colin Ray says hip hooray to another start for the Cubs. They're between even money to plus 110, minus 120 to minus 130 is that number on Baltimore. 9 to 9.5 is the total on the 9.5. Under is minus 120 and the over is even on the 9. Over is minus 120. Under is even money. And for the Orioles, I did set them at a minus 133. I'm going to be willing to dive in on them on the money line for Dean Kramer. He's only made 3 starts thus far this season, but he's been solid. Now, he is giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings in the small sample size, but 3.18 ERA, 10.6 strikeouts, 1.6 walks per 9 innings. I like what I see there. And for Colin Ray, it's been more like Colin Boo. 4.74 ERA, 6.9 strikeouts, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, fielding dependent. Right on par with that ERA. He faces off against an Orioles team that's been much better with their offense at home rather than away from home. They're averaging about 4.8 or so runs per game at home. Gunnar Henderson, he's been able to gunner it with 70 plus home runs, but still less than a 300 on base. You're going to need a little bit more there. You got Taylor Ward, who's been able to give you a 375 on base. His power has been way down, but he's moving the line line, then you need a little bit more of these guys like Jackson Holiday, Kobe Mayo, Dylan Beavers, a lot of guys. You get 225 or lower, Tyler O'Neill, throw him in there as well. But you do have a little bit more out of Pete Alonso now, 345 on base, 19 plus home runs. And on the flip side for the Cubs, they've got a pair of guys in Ian Happ and Alex Bregman who are right at the top of the big league level in terms of men left on base. And for Happ, he's only hitting at 217, 325 on base, 17 plus home runs, but you need a little bit more there. Nico Horner's only hitting about a 240 for the team. We've seen Michael Conforto fall down the toilet bowl with about a 340 on base. So Peter Armstrong up to a 385 on base, 18 plus home runs. He has been magnificent. And Alex Bregman has been a little bit of a waste of money. Now for the Chicago Cubs, they do find themselves in the top half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They've just dealt with a lot of injuries. Phil Matone, Riley Martin, Daniel Palencia, Hobie Milner, now all on the injured list, and then have the likes of Ryan Rolison, Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb, who have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Caleb Thielbar, it's been a little bit of a roll of the dice, and for Baltimore, they place Keegan Aiken on the injured list. That's not a bad thing. You've had Andrew Kittredge just be absolutely awful for the team, but Uncle Rico Garcia, you know your Cano, don't you know these guys give you a sub-3 ERA. You've had a guy like a Grant Wolfram be able to be okay, and I do think that that's enough to be able to get the job done, and what I think is going to be a higher scoring game. Somebody told 9.6, like the over and minus 132 or better in on that Orioles money line. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Seattle Mariners on the road against Miami Marlins. Tyler Phillips goes for the Fish. George Kirby for Seattle. Seattle's minus 135 to a minus 138, plus 115 to plus 118. That number on Miami, 8.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the under. I did somebody tell at 7.6, where George Kirby has been better than what the ERA would indicate for Kirby right now. He is flying an ERA more around about a 386 at Field Independent. Is currently at a 336, 0.9 home runs, 2.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. And Tyler Phillips, he has been giving up the 4.2 walks per 9 innings. So he's got a 352 ERA, 455 Field Independent, but the bullpen around him has been really good. The Mariners are 5th in bullpen ERA at a 354. The Marlins are 8th at a 376. But for the Marlins, they've been doing a nice job in terms of mixing and matching, even with someone like an Andrew Nardi not being what they hoped for and being banged up all season long. Michael Peterson, great name, has been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. And I mean, I will say, Pete Fairbanks has been awful for this team, but likes of John King, Lake Bakar and company being able to step up. Bakar did have a rough go of it out there against the Athletics over the weekend, but still, you've got a solid bullpen, and for the Marlins, they just small ball you to death. They are one of the best teams in terms of swiping bags in all of baseball. You've got Jacob Marcy, Otto Lopez, Asterio Ruiz, all with at least 17 stolen bases. Now, Marcy hitting 192, you need a little bit more there, but Otto Lopez is hitting 345. Xavier Edwards hitting above 300. Like, their lone guy above 11 home runs entering into yesterday, Liam Hicks, 13 home runs. He's been able to give you a 365 on base. You now have Owen Casey, Kyle Sowers, both up to 11 home runs apiece, both hitting between about a 235 to a 250. You're going to need a little bit more there, but Roberto Hernandez seems to be holding it down as well. And for the Seattle Mariners, this team has been in the bottom 8 in terms of run creation as well. Cal Raleigh, a single-digit amount of homers, and just not giving you any average as well, hitting below the Bedell's line 200. That's been an issue. J.P. Crawford, 10 home runs, but he's been stuck on that for a while. 212 batting average. I will say 331 on base. That's a little bit better, but Luke Raley, Dom Canzone, Julio Rodriguez, 14 home runs apiece. They've been really your main boom guys with Canzone. Be able to give you a 350 on base. Randy Rosarena does give you a 375 on base, but for this good Mariners bullpen, they are dealing with some injuries. You've had Cooper Criswell and Matt Brash laying on the injury list. We'll say Gabe Spire, Nick Davila, Edward Bizardo, Jose Ferrer. They've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, so do think that you're in for a lower scoring game. Set the Mariners at a minus 106, so getting the plus money on the Marlins, taking them, and I'm going to be in on this total to the under as well. Somebody tell us 7.6, 927, 928 on the card. It's the Houston Astros on the road against the Washington Nationals as Foster Griffin. It's going to be on the bum for the Nats and Spencer Arrighetti. No, not Mom Spaghetti's on the bum for the Astros, and the Astros do find themselves as an underdog here of anywhere between plus 113 to a plus 120. Meanwhile, minus 135 to minus 140 is that number on Washington. 9 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. For the Nationals, I'm willing to go up to a minus 138 on this money line. As for Spencer Arrighetti, things are just falling straight down the toilet bowl for him. He has now given up 3+ runs in 5 out of his last 6 starts, and he's just walking way too many guys. 381 ERA, 464 Field Independent, 1.2 home runs, 4.4 walks per 9 innings. He's supported by a bullpen that's 20th in terms of ERA at a 428. I will say, even though they've got Steven Okert on the injured list, you've had some of these guys be able to step up, be able to give you some good innings. Brian King has been the king for this team. I know that they've been able to get a little bit more recently out of AJ Blubaugh as well, but Daniel De Los Santos has had his issues. He's posting up all above a 4 ERA, and for Brian Ray, it's been a season to forget for him. And for the Washington Nationals, they themselves are a bottom 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. PJ Poulin has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, but Justin Lawrence has been awful. Paxton Schultz has really not been able to give you a lot out of the bullpen as well, so I do think they're going to get a higher scoring game. I said I told 9.8, like the over, especially with the fact that the Nationals are numero uno in terms of run creation. They've been averaging 5.4 runs per game. James Wood, 25 home runs with a 400 on base. He's giving you good wood. Luis Garcia, CJ Abrams, 18 plus home runs apiece, both hitting above a 275. Keibert Ruiz really doesn't draw walks, but he's hitting about a 280. Down Lyle moves the line along Jobert Vivas. Both of these guys hitting about a 250. And Curtis Mead, not the greatest average, but he's been able to give you double-figure amount of bombs, 330 on base. And for the Astros, it's a little bit top-heavy. Jose Altuve is just not what he has been in the past. Isaac Paredes gives you about a 345 on base. You're now dealing with Jeremy Pena being back out of the fold, but Christian Walker, he's been able to give you 19 plus bombs, hitting about a 245. Yordan Alvarez, over 25 home runs, 420 plus on base. But I mean, these just mix and match outfielders in general. Joey Looper Fido, Bryce Matthews, Zach DeZenzo, Cam Smith. They're all giving you a single digit amount of homers. They're only at 225 or lower. So I do think that for the Washington Nationals, they get the job done, even though Foster Griffin probably doing for a little bit of regression himself. For Foster Griffin, 287 ERA, but a 427 field dependent, giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. So like the over, so I told 9.8, we'll delay up to minus 130 on the Nationals money line. Wrap things up with 929, 930. It's the Mets. They're going to be playing us to the Royals as Christian Scott, great Scott, is on the bump for the Mets, to be determined for the Royals. So this game is off the board. It's looking like it should be Stephen Kolek, and if that's the case, I'm willing to lay up to minus 147 with the Mets, plus 149 or better the Royals, and then set a total of an 8.4, 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or higher the under for our good friend Stephen Kolek, if he does indeed get the start here, because it would be a downgrade if he doesn't, even though he's a pitcher contact guy with a 450 ERA. He's been able to do a nice job keeping things out in front of him. 1.3 home runs, 2 walks per 9 innings, and his ERA just got ballooned by the fact that against the St. Louis Cardinals, he gave up 9 runs in 1 2/3 innings. You take that out of the fold, and he's been able to have himself a nice start, but I mean, still, 12 runs allowed in less than 4 innings in his last 2 starts. That's been not great, to say the least. It does go down to a 4.30 ERA when he's been on the road, and for Christian Scott, the big thing for him is being able to limit walks, because this is a guy that has been able to do a really nice job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. He gives you quite a few strikeouts, 3.49 ERA, closer to about a 4.36 fielding dependent, 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, but those 4.6 walks per 9 innings are an issue. He did give up a pair of bombs in his last start, so he's now up to about 1.2 to 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but he also, in good news, gets to go up against a Royals team that, away from home, they entered in the series averaging 3.6 runs per game. Only the Blue Jays averaging fewer runs per game away from home than this bunch. Now, for the Royals, they were able to get to Kodai Singh and company yesterday, and that game was just a complete and utter, shall we say, gong show. But for the Royals, you've had a little bit of issue. Carter Jensen, along with Jack Caglione, now hitting above a 245. Both of these guys have now been able to give you 12 plus home runs, and Salvador Perez is up to 11 home runs, but 250 on base, it's just not cutting it. Bobby Witt Jr., one of the best base zeros in all baseball, 28 plus stolen bags, double finger amount of homers, 360 on base. You'll love that. And Tyler Tolbert, pair of home runs in the series. Hey, you'll love to see that. Meanwhile, for the Mets, I mean, you've got AJ Ewing give you about a 350 on base, but he's the only player other than Juan Soto in the lineup yesterday that was giving you over a 320 on base. Soto, he's been able to do his part, 20 home runs, over a 4 on base. And you do have a few guys, Carson Benjay, along with Bo Bichette. These guys are running at 260. They're hovering right around about 10 home runs apiece, but Brett Beatty has been giving you nothing. Luis Torrance has been giving you nothing. They bring back Jorge Polanco, has been about as useful as a poopy-flavored lollipop, but the good news for the Mets, they have been a top 7 team in terms of opening rate. Just so many guys like Brooks Raley, Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, AJ Minter, Luke Weaver. These guys have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Still do not trust in Devin Williams one bit, but I mean, that's been solid. And for the Kansas City Royals, this has been a terrible bullpen. They're in the bottom 5 in terms of ERA. Carlos Estevez being on the injury list has been rough. You've got the likes of Alex Lang, Lucas Ursage that have been supplying an ERA well above a 450. Matt Strom has not been what they've hoped for. Daniel Lynch has been relatively solid, but Steven Cruz has not been. So interesting circumstance here for the Mets. I'm a little late up to minus 147 with them, plus 149 or better the Royals, and then 8 or less, and on the over 8.5 or the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to our guy Rob Donaldson, who does such a great work with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_D1. Keep in mind, there's the name does not matter. So per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast by that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day, giving you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I will be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.